That's working out well.
And he will soon be replaced by our next FBI director, somebody who I think is going to be one of the greatest, maybe the greatest director of them all, Kash Patel.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks so much for having me here. We've got all our data and we've got your data. You really can't compete. What he says is we want to become the Saudi Arabia of data.
AI's already infiltrating our lives. Type something into Google and you'll get an AI overview with information from many different sites. And on Facebook, there's Meta AI. Type in a question and you'll get the answer.
Tiny Lukeville, Arizona, where the number of migrants is pushing Border Patrol past capacity. More than 9,000 illegal crossings along the southern border just yesterday. Nearly 3,000 of them in this area. Now we have enough.
That was our first hand of Tom's Day, and now it's gone.
Is there no girl here to just be gone?
Everyone has lost everything here.
Good morning. Welcome to the Weekend Mashup number 17. Oh, today's a special one. Got lots of goodies for us. I brought in Mr. Born Deplorable with me today.
Good morning, fam. Oh, I'm doing just all right today. Well, more than all right. I'm doing great.
I got called into work this morning, so I got to go to work tonight.
No, damn. Yeah, we didn't get to go to church today. The kids had some tummy issues during the night, so
it's been going around. That's for sure. I think everybody at my house is. I mean, we still got the lingering coughs and all that good stuff, but
yeah,
it's pretty nasty.
Yeah, we had the cough for a while, that bronchial thing, and then kids now have this thing. I hope I don't catch that. It's that time of year.
Yep. Oh, so another amazing week we've had with all the news.
Yeah.
I do want to start out with J.D. Vance's speech at Munich Security Council.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
He put the globalists on notice that globalism was dead, and I loved it. Loved every minute of it. Let's jump right into it, and then we'll discuss it at the other side.
Yeah, JD Vance kicking sand in the sandbox.
Yes. Making his moves possibly for a presidential run in 2028.
Ooh, wouldn't be disappointed. There's a couple of names I wouldn't mind up there, but if he's in this position now, why not just keep going with it? Bring in some behind him and just keep it going and keep it going.
Let's see how he does first as VP.
Exactly.
All right. Let's hear what Mr. JD Vance says to the globalists, all in the same room.
Well, thank you, and thanks to all the gathered delegates and luminaries and media professionals, and thanks especially to the hosts of the Munich Security Conference for being able to put on such an incredible event. We're, of course, thrilled to be here. We're happy to be here. And, you know, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is, of course, our shared values. And, you know, it's great to be back in Germany. As you heard earlier, I was here last year as United States Senator. I saw Foreign Secretary David Lammy and joked that both of us last year had different jobs than we have now. But now it's time for all of our countries, for all of us who have been fortunate enough to be given political power by our respective peoples, to use it wisely to improve their lives. And I want to say that, you know, I was fortunate in my time here to spend some time outside the walls of this conference over the last 24 hours. And I've been so impressed by the hospitality of the people, even as, of course, as they're reeling from yesterday's horrendous attack. And the first time I was ever in Munich was with my wife, actually, who's here with me today, on a personal trip. And I've always loved the city of Munich, and I've always loved its people. And I just want to say that we're very moved, and our thoughts and prayers are with Munich and everybody affected by the evil inflicted on this beautiful community. We're thinking about you, we're praying for you, and we will certainly be rooting for you in the days and weeks to come. Now,
Very diplomatic.
Not the last bit of applause that I get, but we gather at this conference, of course, to discuss security. And normally we mean threats to our external security. I see many great military leaders gathered here today. But while the Trump administration is very concerned with European security and believes that we can come to a reasonable settlement between Russia and Ukraine, and we also believe that it's important in the coming years for Europe to step up in a big way to provide for its own defense, the threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values shared with the United States of America. Now, I was struck that a former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election. He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany too. Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we fund and support is in the name of our shared democratic values. Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard. And I say ourselves because I fundamentally believe that we are on the same team. We must do more than talk about democratic values, we must live them. Now, within living memory of many of you in this room, the Cold War positioned defenders of democracy against much more tyrannical forces on this continent. And consider the side in that fight that censored dissidents, that closed churches, that canceled elections. Were they the good guys? Certainly not. And thank God they lost the Cold War. They lost because they neither valued nor respected all of the extraordinary blessings of liberty.
Ukraine canceled theirs,
the freedom to surprise, to make mistakes, to invent, to build. As it turns out, you can't mandate innovation, or creativity, just as you can't force people what to think, what to feel, or what to believe. And we believe those things are certainly connected. And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief.
File your taxes 100% free in the app if you didn't use this last year. Just file with.
And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. And in the interest of comedy, my friends, but also in the interest of truth, I will admit that sometimes the loudest voices for censorship have come not from within Europe, but from within my own country, where the prior administration threatened and bullied social media companies to censor so-called misinformation. Misinformation like, for example, the idea that coronavirus had likely leaked from a laboratory in China. Our own government encouraged private companies to silence people who dared to utter what turned out to be an obvious truth. So I come here today not just with an observation, but with an offer. And just as the Biden administration seemed desperate to silence people for speaking their minds, so the Trump administration will do precisely the opposite, and I hope that we can work together on that. In Washington, there is a new sheriff in town, and under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square, agree or disagree.
Boom. The way it should be.
Now,
why everyone isn't clapping.
The situation has gotten so
tells me
bad
everything I need to know.
December,
Yep.
Romania straight up canceled the results of a presidential election based on the flimsy suspicions of an intelligence agency and enormous pressure from its continental neighbors. Now, as I understand it, the argument was that Russian disinformation had infected the Romanian elections. But I'd ask my European friends to have some perspective. You can believe it's wrong for Russia to buy social media advertisements to influence your elections. We certainly do. You can condemn it on the world stage even. But if your democracy can be destroyed with a few $100,000 of digital advertising from a foreign country, then it wasn't very strong to begin with.
Boom.
Now, the good news is that I happen to think your democracies are substantially less brittle than many people apparently fear. And I really do believe that allowing our citizens to speak their mind will make them stronger still. Which, of course, brings us back to Munich, where the organizers of this very conference have banned lawmakers representing populist parties on both the left and the right from participating in these conversations. Now, again, we don't have to agree with everything or anything that people say. But when people represent, when political leaders represent an important constituency, it is incumbent upon us to at least participate in dialogue with them. Now, to many of us on the other side of the Atlantic, it looks more and more like old entrenched interests hiding behind ugly Soviet-era words like misinformation and disinformation, who simply don't like the idea that somebody with an alternative viewpoint might express a different opinion or, God forbid, vote a different way or, even worse, win an election. Now, this is a security conference, and I'm sure you all came here prepared to talk about how exactly you intend to increase defense spending over the next few years in line with some new target. And that's great, because as President Trump has made abundantly clear, he believes that our European friends must play a bigger role in the future of this continent. We don't think, you hear this term, burden sharing, but we think it's an important part of being in a shared alliance together that the Europeans step up while America focuses on areas of the world that are in great danger. But let me also ask you, how will you even begin to think through the kinds of budgeting questions if we don't know what it is that we're defending in the first place? I've heard a lot already in my conversations, and I've had many, many great conversations with many people gathered here in this room. I've heard a lot about what you need to defend yourselves from, and of course that's important. But what has seemed a little bit less clear to me, and certainly I think to many of the citizens of Europe, is what exactly it is that you're defending yourselves for. What is the positive vision that animates this shared security compact that we all believe is so important? And I believe deeply that there is no security if you are afraid of the voices, the opinions, and the conscience that guide your very own people. Europe faces many challenges, but the crisis this continent faces right now, the crisis I believe we all face together, is one of our own making. If you're running in fear of your own voters, there is nothing America can do for you. Nor, for that matter, is there anything that you can do for the American people who elected me and elected President Trump. You need democratic mandates to accomplish anything of value in the coming years. Have we learned nothing that thin mandates produce unstable
100%
results?
Belushi.
But there is so much
Good to
of
see you.
value that can be accomplished with the kind of democratic mandate that I think will come from being more responsive to the voices of your citizens. If you're going to enjoy competitive economies, if you're going to enjoy affordable energy and secure supply chains, then you need mandates to govern, because you have to make difficult choices to enjoy all of these things. And of course, we know that very well in America. You cannot win a democratic mandate by censoring your opponents or putting them in jail, whether that's the leader of the opposition, a humble Christian praying in her own home, or a journalist trying to report the news. Nor can you win one by disregarding your basic electorate on questions like who gets to be a part of our shared society. And of all the pressing challenges that the nations represented here face, I believe there is nothing more urgent than mass migration. Today, almost 1 in 5 people living in this country moved here from abroad. That is, of course, an all-time high. It's a similar number, by the way, in the United States, also an all-time high. The number of immigrants who entered the EU from non-EU countries doubled between 2021 and 2022 alone. And of course, it's gotten much higher since. And we know the situation, it didn't materialize in a vacuum. It's the result of a series of conscious decisions made by politicians all over the continent and others across the world over the span of a decade. We saw the horrors wrought by these decisions yesterday in this very city. And of course, I can't bring it up again without thinking about the terrible victims who had a beautiful winter day in Munich ruined. Our thoughts and prayers are with them and will remain with them. But why did this happen in the first place? It's a terrible story, but it's one we've heard way too many times in Europe and unfortunately too many times in the United States as well. An asylum seeker, often a young man in his mid-20s, already known to police, rams a car into a crowd and shatters a community. How many times must we suffer these appalling setbacks before we change course and take our shared civilization in a new direction? No voter on this continent went to the ballot box to open the floodgates to millions of unvetted immigrants. But you know what they did vote for? In England, they voted for Brexit, and agree or disagree, they voted for it. And more all over Europe, they're voting for political leaders who promise to put an end to out-of-control migration. Now, I happen to agree with a lot of these concerns, but you don't have to agree with me. I just think that people care about their homes, they care about their dreams, they care about their safety and their capacity to provide for themselves and their children. And they're smart. I think this is one of the most important things I've learned in my brief time in politics. Contrary to what you might hear a couple mountains over in Davos, the citizens of all of our nations don't generally think of themselves as educated animals or as interchangeable cogs of a global economy. And it's hardly surprising that they don't want to be shuffled about or relentlessly ignored by their leaders.
Damn.
It is the business of democracy to adjudicate these big questions.
Like a gentleman, too.
I believe that dismissing people, dismissing their concerns, or worse yet, shutting down media, shutting down elections, or shutting people out of the political process protects nothing.
Hold on. Before you pay for yet another app to
hold on, someone punched that sleeping guy in the face.
I know, I was just thinking
the one
that.
platform that replaced.
In fact, it is the most surefire way to destroy democracy. And speaking up and expressing opinions isn't election interference. Even when people express views outside your own country, and even when those people are very influential. And trust me, I say this with all humor, if American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding, you guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk. But what German democracy, what no democracy, American, German, or European, will survive is telling millions of voters that their thoughts and concerns, their aspirations, their pleas for relief are invalid or unworthy of even being considered. Democracy rests on the sacred principle that the voice of the people matters. There's no room for firewalls. You either uphold the principle or you don't. Europeans, the people, have a voice. European leaders have a choice. And my strong belief is that we do not need to be afraid of the future. You can embrace what your people tell you, even when it's surprising, even when you don't agree. And if you do so, you can face the future with certainty and with confidence, knowing that the nation stands behind each of you. And that, to me, is the great magic of democracy. It's not in these stone buildings or beautiful hotels. It's not even in the great institutions that we have built together as a shared society. To believe in democracy is to understand that each of our citizens has wisdom and has a voice. And if we refuse to listen to that voice, even our most successful fights will secure very little. As Pope John Paul II, in my view, one of the most extraordinary champions of democracy on this continent or any other, once said, "Do not be afraid." We shouldn't be afraid of our people, even when they express views that disagree with their leadership. Thank you all. Good luck to all of you. God bless you.
Yes, good luck.
This is what it should have sounded like in there.
Yeah. Like glitter fountains and fireworks.
Yeah.
Dude, I love when they panned around. You got the guy sleeping and the kind of what do you want to call it? Ignorant people that are laughing and stuff. It's like, bro, did you not realize what's about to happen to you guys?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, they've been in control for so long that they're just arrogant. That's the word. There you go. Arrogant.
It's a good comment, Conservative Chris. I think most in the room are tuning him out because if they embrace the people they represent, they lose their power.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, it's like he was saying that we don't want to be your sheep anymore. We're not your cattle.
Mm-hmm.
Don't like being looked at that way. And if you think that's going to continue, then have another thing coming to you.
Yeah.
The people are waking up. Just got to keep going. Got to keep going. What do you think about all the confirmations going on? Like, save the best for last.
I think it's fantastic. I wish we could quit messing around and just get cash in there.
Yeah, they're just delaying that. They know what's about to happen.
But since you're talking about confirmations, I kind of like the. This is a good one to start out with, since we're talking about confirmations.
Segue right into that.
Yeah, good little segue. Good job, Warren.
Hi, this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I'm here outside of the United States Department of Agriculture to tell you about a win-win policy that I'll be pushing in the Trump administration. It's a win for farmers, for consumers, and for the environment. And the purpose is to make America healthy again. America's current ag policy is destroying America's health on every level. It's destroying the economic health of farmers by forcing them to get big or get out. Big corporate farms do just fine, while the small and medium family operators are squeezed to the point of collapse. It also destroys the health of America's soil and water by tilting the playing field in favor of more chemicals, more herbicides, more insecticides, more concentrated monocrops and feedlots. And finally, it destroys the health of consumers. Not only do the chemicals pollute our bodies, the same way that they pollute the soil, but corporate interests have hijacked the USDA's dietary guidelines to make natural, unprocessed foods barely an afterthought. That's one reason why 70% of the American diet now consists of ultra-processed food. We're going to change that. We're going to give farmers an off-ramp from the current system that destroys their health, wrecks the soil, makes Americans sick, and destroys family farms. We're going to rewrite the regulations to give the smaller operators a break. We're going to encourage sustainable, regenerative farming that can build soil and replenish aquifers. We're going to ban the worst agricultural chemicals that are already prohibited in other countries. And we're going to remove conflicts of interest from the USDA dietary panels and commissions. I've seen some of what America's most innovative regenerative farmers are doing today. They can literally green deserts. They rebuild depleted soils. Wells that have been dry for 30 years start flowing again. They heal the land, and some of them make a very good living doing it. But unfortunately, many more have to fight the system in order to do what's right. It doesn't have to be this way. And when Donald Trump gets me inside the building I'm standing outside of right now, it won't be this way anymore. American agriculture will come roaring back, and so will American health. If you want this to happen as much as I do, please donate what you can to make America healthy again at ahanow.org. Thank you, and God bless.
Oh.
I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, me too. Did you see that Trump is there? Oh, I should say there was rumor, some hearsay going around about him signing an EO about banning processed junk food from the food stamps. I know it's state by state, but he could stop the funding that they do get from the federal funding. So I know in Oregon it used to be like that. It was whole food only.
Right.
And then sometime they were like, yeah, just buy Red Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it had a nutrition label on it, you could buy it. Whole Foods and nutrition labels.
Yeah, I remember first time walking into one of those local stores around here. I seen some lady come up with a bunch of energy drinks and stuff like that, and use their food stamps to buy it. And I'm like, I didn't think that was illegal or legal to do at one point. And then she goes and gets in her brand new car, and it's like, yeah. I think it was Sean or Johnny the other night played a clip. I think it was them. This lady is getting $4,000 in food stamps a month and drives a 2024 BMW.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And they said something about she has to sell the BMW if she wants to continue to get the $4,000 a month in food stamps. I'm thinking to myself, dear Lord, there's people out there that need the money, need it. They can't get more than like $100.
If they even get approved at all.
Yeah.
It would help my family a little bit if we could have got approved, but I make $100 more than the limit. And we didn't even need like all of it. We just, a couple $100 a month would have helped out while my wife's looking for a job.
Right.
And they wouldn't go to the grocery store. And I watch families of people that obviously are not from here with shopping carts, several of them full, and then whip out that little Oregon Trail card. It's like, I should film that.
So Subpack Vet sent me something. It says, if I'm reading this correctly, this could be huge. FTC chairman today, I am prohibiting FTC political appointees from holding leadership positions in the ABA, American Bar Association, participating in American Bar Association events, or renewing any existing ABA memberships. The FTC will also stop expanding any resources to facilitate any employee memberships in the ABA.
Interesting.
Like to see where that leads.
Yeah. That's some things on said. Crazy.
So what's your thoughts on all this, on what RFK is trying to pull?
I think it's great. I think it's going to be amazing. I think if you give people the option, then public opinion will kill off the other side. You won't have to ban anything. It'll just die because it won't be needed or wanted anymore. Let the free market be the free market. Let capitalism run its course, and people will want the good Whole Foods. Yeah, everyone's going to want a Snicker bar every once in a while. No big deal. But let's not give that to the people for free on other people's money. You start showing people, hey, you want to be healthy again? You don't want to go to the doctor all the time? You don't want to, be sick constantly? I mean, shoot, it's like 40% of kids under 18 have diabetes or pre-diabetes.
Yep.
It's insane. No kid should have anything like that. Like, there's some chubby kids, whatever, but
now it's exploded in the last decade.
Yeah. It's like, I look around and the kids aren't even outside playing anymore. It's either because they're too fat or they're zoned in on a video game or a tablet or a phone.
Yep.
Like my kids, they get a little bit of TV time. They've got a tablet. They get a little of that, and we play video games with them. But it's like that's not all they do. They got to earn that.
Mm-hmm.
I think what he's doing is great. I think it's going to take a little time for that to take place. Obviously, with crops and everything, we're going to have to ease into.
Yeah, it's going to take some time to especially get the glyphosate out of the soil. There's ways to do it for sure. I mean, there's organisms that'll come in and eat that stuff out.
Right. But it takes time.
But it's going to take some time.
Yeah. But just do the best we can now. I know it's hard to even grow your own stuff without having it contaminated. The soil they sell you in the stores is contaminated.
Yeah. So another one on appointees. Here's Pam Bondi. Let's make sure I got the right one. Okay.
Give me a sec here, bud.
No problem.
Trump wants to get Letitia James and Alvin Bragg. That's what this story is all about. Nothing else there. He went after Illinois because he wants to get Pritzker.
hates them. And the way to do that is to deny the states of Illinois and New York the federal grant money. The New York Post reports today $8 billion is going to get held up by the Justice Department that would have flowed into New York State, which is running an astronomical deficit here. Okay. So the easiest way to do this is to file civil suits against the governor and the attorney general. Then the question was, why is the mayor of New York left out? Because he doesn't matter. He doesn't matter. Trump wants to get Letitia James. Hochul is just an ornament. Doesn't have any bad feeling toward Hochul.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the reason that Eric Adams, according to Bill, doesn't matter is more along the lines of he cut a deal, because as soon as this stuff was announced, we found out that Adams is working with Holman. So I think that they did some kind of, we'll drop the case against you if you work with us on this. That's my opinion on that. I'll finish it up.
Trump. But Adams, the deal that was made, I don't know what Adams is giving Trump. I have to tell the audience up front. I don't know, and I don't use anonymous sources, but I have gotten call after call after call that said, and all of these people have agendas who are calling me. They all have agendas, all right? And they're saying that Adams knows where the bodies are buried with James and Bragg. Just throwing it out for your consumption. I'm not reporting it to be true, but it kind of makes sense, right?
Well, it's kind of weird that, like, you can say he has no power, but he's in charge of the city. And when they went after Pritzker in Illinois, they named Chicago and they went after the mayor. Yeah, I'm just saying, if you're going after the city of Chicago, you name the mayor.
Come on. Well, why this is buffering? I think that they dropped the case on him and dropped the case against him for his cooperation. They're letting him into Rikers Island. I mean, tells me everything.
No, Johnson and Adams have no power whatsoever. None. They do what they're told to do. The real power lies in the state legislature.
I think
now, in both Illinois and New York, the state legislature gives the big middle finger to Homeland Security. Because blank you, maybe Anderson Cooper could articulate it a little more than I am by using some vernacular, but that's what's happening. And the Trump administration knows that these mayors, I mean, this is like the utility infielder on the New York Yankees who plays maybe 3 innings a week. These guys have no power. They do what they're told to do. The big power is Newsom in California. Newsom's next. Hey, Gavin, they're coming for you. Pritzker's going to get destroyed.
Damn right, he's coming.
And Trump will bring down,
come out to Oregon.
He will bring down Letitia James and Alvin Bragg because they went on a crusade to destroy him. And President Trump is not a forgiving man.
Yeah. So with that whole thing, we already know that he's investigating the high-speed rail debacle that California has dealt with.
Yeah, the money laundering.
In my opinion, the whole reason why Paradise, California was burnt to the ground a few years ago. I mean, it was directly in the path of what they wanted to put that high-speed rail in. So I hope to see old Newsom locked up in a jail cell soon.
Yeah.
And then move to California or Oregon and Washington.
Oh, they got to do the whole West Coast is corrupt.
Did you hear the Washington legislature is trying to pass a law that for every single gun that you own, you have to have a $20,000 insurance policy on?
Yeah, that's unconstitutional as hell.
Mm-hmm. But does it really matter? I mean,
well, to them, yeah, they don't care. They'll just wipe their ass with the Constitution. But they can Piss off. What are they going to do? Come door to door? If they do, you have guns. I mean, like I'm not saying that we need to get like violent, but we have a right to defend ourselves and uphold the Constitution. It's kind of our deal too. So if we just let these people walk all over us, then we deserve what we get.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's kind of like, you know, we've just had that whole, oh, it'll be all right, they won't go this far, you know, we give them an inch, we keep giving them an inch, and next thing you know, it's a mile.
I was just talking to my wife about this last night, and of course I get all animated, but we have let these people in the door and let them have free reign of our home. You know, no one ever told them to stop because we wanted peace. We wanted just to get along. Most Americans are like, hey, you know, what are you doing over here? Just chill out. Like, you know, no big deal. No, it's time to get blunt with these people. It's time to tell them what's what. It's time to stand up and in defiance tell them to go fuck themselves. Is playtime's over. We have the cards. We are the ones in control now, and we have to assert ourselves. Otherwise, they're going to keep marching down this way, and it's just going to keep going. We have the lesbian mafia here in Oregon that's running the show, and all we have to do is tell them to go fuck themselves. Because
the leader of that is the governor.
Yeah, no, it's serious. The last one was part of it. This one's part of it. We have let these women come in here that wear, you know, trousers and comfortable shoes run our show. And if you look at everybody they've appointed from the education to the finance department, they're all these freaking lesbians. They have a male, like they have a complex. They think they're men. They really do. They think they have some power, and they've destroyed our state from top to bottom. Every part of it. Every part. They run the fishing game. So our hunting and fishing is controlled by these people. Our education, our finance, our roads, everything is ran by these women, and they got to go.
That's one of the things that scares me about Trump getting rid of the Department of Education and putting it back to the states. I get the constitutionality of it. I totally understand that, but Washington, Oregon, and California are going to be fucked.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen right away. Notice how McMahon's in there right now, and she's like, they're going to start weaning this off. He just signed an EO, I think, Friday, I think it was, or maybe he was talking about it, or it was talked about him banning the LGBTQ wokeism crap from schools, or he's going to remove funding from the state. And so if all schools don't comply, he will remove the funding from the state. Now, Oregon will dig their heels in the sand. They're already
Ferguson already did.
Yeah, they're already doing it where they're going to try to tax us at the state level to keep this crap going. So that means we've got to do our state thing and tell them, I'm not paying taxes anymore. Because Oregon has a state tax.
Yeah.
A state income tax. So I'll just have to file, you know, quarterly and not file.
Find somebody that lives in Washington and use their address.
It's something, because it's going to be, we got to take their funding away from them. That's what's going to happen. They're going to do it federally, and they're going to come after us locally, and they're going to use the legislation to push that.
Yep.
They're not going to come to us with a vote and be like, all right, everybody, do you think that we should, you know, tax you more? So, you know, it's like, no one's going to want taxes more. So they're going to go through the process of just doing it behind our backs. This one won't be on a ballot. We'll never see any of this. So I was looking through some of these laws that they passed here in Oregon, and none of it, we didn't vote for any of this stuff. Our representatives voted for us.
The ones that we voted for were just, our legislation shot it down.
Yeah.
The $20 vehicle tabs or $30 vehicle tabs are now like $170.
Yeah.
And
then ask them.
It's just like, oh, it's unconstitutional. No, it's not. The people voted for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we allegedly voted for these people who voted for it, and that's not true either.
Yeah.
They were selected. We all know it. It's like, if you go in and ask them, where's the money? Where's the money? Where's the money? We have more people in Oregon than we ever have. We have more kids in the schools. Actually, per capita, more people, less kids per capita than we ever have. So that means the school should have a bunch of money, like a whole lot of money. And they're broke. The schools are broke. And that's what Trump's, you know, hey, look, you guys got no money. What are you going to do? Yeah. But so they're just going to raise the tax. They had the marijuana tax. That was supposed to be like, almost all that was supposed to go to schools. And we were asking Kay Brown, where's the money at? We're talking $100 million or something like that in 1 year. Where's the money at? It wasn't there. The schools are even crappier than ever. Trump says it. We spend more money than the rest of the world on our kids, and we're like at the bottom of the list.
40th. Yep.
Yeah, Oregon's at the end of the list in the United States, and we're one of the richest states in the freaking union.
Well, isn't Oregon's new thing is you don't have to be a licensed teacher to teach or some shit?
Yeah, you don't have to be a licensed teacher, and you don't even have to learn how to read and write at a sophomore level to graduate high school anymore. It's like I think in 8th grade is when they stopped testing the kids now. That's insane. All in the name of what? It starts with the E. Equity. No, I want equality. I want if you work as hard as me, then we have the potential to do the same. Now, yes, I know somebody that you don't know, and so I get to pull that string. I'm sorry. Is that to do with the color of skin I have? No, just so happens to be that way. Yeah. You want to get here? Start working harder. Show me up. Well, this is America. Sorry. I don't have a lot of strings to pull.
Tyrannosaurus Rex says Eastern Washington and Eastern Oregon would benefit from merging with Idaho. You're not wrong there.
Yeah. We may have a guest on if I can work things out with them. He potentially is the presumptive Republican nominee for the governor of Oregon. He's a young man. We'll see how that goes, but he has some good ideas. He doesn't want to separate Oregon. He doesn't think that needs to happen. But the quick fix is to do that.
I don't necessarily want it to happen, but at this rate, being that Portland and Salem run your state, and with Seattle and Clark County run our state, it's only a matter of time until something happens, and that's going to end up being,
yeah. I think it'd be good just to do it as a temporary thing. I know it's a lot of paperwork and a lot of,
Or we just moved to Idaho.
Move to Subpack Vet's house. He lives in a cool area. He has lots of room up there. So.
All right, I got one more thing on Trump appointees, and then we'll jump into some other stuff. Lee Zeldin's EPA.
Hi, this is EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. One of my very top priorities at EPA.
That might be too quiet.
Excellent steward of your.
I don't know if you guys could hear it. I could barely hear it.
It was quiet on my end.
Okay, I'll just skip that one then. We'll just basically I'll break down the tweet. The Biden EPA tossed 20 billion of gold bars off the Titanic. Big update. We found the gold bars and they are now being recovered for you, the hardworking American people. Here are the more details. Unfortunately, with it as quiet as it is, I'm not even going to bother playing it. But yeah,
I think we've seen that. Most of us have seen that. I think
it's nice to know that Lee Zeldin is in the EPA.
Yeah, it's so nice to see like the all-stars getting put into place. It's all going to take a minute. It's going to take about 6 months for things to really kick off. You're going to see things happen. Elon's doing his thing. He's like the big smoke screen over here. Just keep the media on their toes. Trump's appointing this person, this person, this person. They're going to get in their departments and their agencies. They're going to have to clean house, rebuild those departments and agencies back up, and then it's game on. Once it'll be over. That's well, not over. So that's when the show will begin.
Yeah.
Right now we're just seeing the intro, the prelude to it all. It's pretty entertaining. It's not going to be so funny later.
No. I'm going to play the short little funny here, just as a little palate cleanser.
So you all want to leave, huh? All of you. Even that guy?
Oh, hold on.
That's for illegally crossing into the United States.
With all due respect, you're making a mistake here. We're not coming into America. We're leaving.
Leaving. Sure, pal. On the ground.
We're not kidding, man. We're going to bounce.
Bounce? Why would you bounce from America? Name one bad thing.
One? I mean, we got lists. Polarized politics, inflation, not to mention the menu at Taco Bell changing again.
Taco? Real Mexicans like that stuff?
We love that shit, man.
But is it even, it's not even meat, is it?
You don't think we know that? I mean, do white people like McDonald's?
Yeah, we like McDonald's.
Is that real beef?
And you know what else? They canceled Blackish.
No. Dial that back. Blackish wasn't canceled. They chose to end that show. And there's a lot of great TV out there right now. I mean, you have Netflix and Disney Plus, Hulu.
We all love Hulu. But other than that, man, there's too many options. You know, I hate when they change the icons and they try to trick you like, oh, it's a different show. It's the same fucking show, man. You know, it just gives me analysis paralysis.
Is that Spanish?
I want to go back to the motherland. We have 5 channels there.
But they're all the same. You have old guys in hats like that, surrounded by hot bitches, and then a clown shows up. And you know what? That's the news. Do you see what's happening here? Mexicans, Americans, talking about streaming services. But you know where we're doing that? America. That's what George Washington was talking about. Well, you know what we talk about in Mexico? How to get the fuck out of Mexico.
Pinche tweets.
It's a sticky wicket for sure.
You know, I was the only coyote with a blue check mark for years, man. Now, anybody can get one for $8 a month.
So you all want to leave, huh? All of you. Even that guy?
Yeah, dude, I'm over it.
Oh my God.
As for illegally crossing into the United States.
Right? Anybody? Oh, that's too funny. That's good.
I got another one that's pretty funny. Actually, it's not really funny, but it's Uncle Scotty, and you really can't go wrong with some Uncle Scotty, especially being that he is maybe interested in a certain position in the government. Here we go. Let's give him a listen.
Just last week, there was a little chatter on social media, Radar, about putting my name up there for possible commissioner of the arts and humanities. Yeah, I know, I laughed as well. I laughed. And then I got to thinking, what I've been doing for 40 years. Man, I put a lot in. Doing what? Promoting patriotism through creativity, through activism. Now, I don't think there's a soul who knows me, doesn't understand that I am a little unorthodox, a little rough around the edges. I don't fit the artist mold. I look like a used Cadillac salesman from Brooklyn. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I cuss. I smoke my skinny cigars. I wear a pinky ring and I drink martinis. But I put my time in. I got stitches to prove it. I've traveled this country. I got flag murals in every state, 3 of them. I have sacrificed family, prosperity. Been arrested so many times doing what? Defending the greatest creation of all time, our American flag, our country and everything under that flag. The greatest invention in the history of civilization, America, freedom. So I think it'd be pretty good. But I know a lot of you artists are like, fuck him, man. He would fucking... No, listen to me. I would be so fair. Yes, I'm not happy with that little artist is painting that anti-American thing on that canvas, or that anti-Jew thing he's painting, or that anti-Catholic thing, a Christian thing he's painting. But you keep at it, son, because that's your right to do that. And I will defend it to the day I die. Although I do not approve or like the taste of that, I defend you for expressing yourself because that's what this country is all about. But, son, I'm going to have to take that paintbrush and those paints back from you in that canvas because that's paid for by my daddy who picked up your family's filthy fucking garbage for 30 years in the city of New York in all signs of weather. Not happening. I have proof in my pudding. You all know me. And if you haven't seen The Relentless Patriot, the movie, it's streaming on Apple TV. It explains everything of who and where I am. Because I got arrested 3 times over the last 20 years at the Brooklyn Museum. I blew my art career 25, 30 years ago because I went up against what was wrong with the arts. They all claim the separation of church and state. But yet the Brooklyn Museum, which is publicly funded, was constantly bashing America and Christianity with my daddy's money. My grandmammy's money who's rolling over in her grave. The biting of the hand that feeds you will come to a halt. You want to do that shit, you do it in a private gallery. I will be there first on line to defend you, son. But not with a nickel of taxpayers' money. You get it? I will also continue my work, bringing creativity out of people who don't think they have it. Specifically, our veterans with PTSD, civilians with mental and medical problems that just watch TV and watch the commercials from Big Pharma. Take this pill, son, if you're depressed. It's called Zlalidoskinstin, because you can't come up with any more names anymore. There's so much shit. And you go and take this pill. May cause 6 months of continuous rectal bleeding. You may grow titties on your earlobes and your kneecaps. But take this pill, son. It'll make you feel better. Fuck that. Thanks to JRFK Jr. is going to take care of that shit. And then I come in and I give you my pill. And my pill is a paintbrush and some canvas and a piano and some singing lessons. And so on and so on. Creativity. That's your pill. That's the only pill that can cure your mind, your body, and your soul.
He's not wrong.
And I will promote the hell out of that across the country, in schools, and so on. So, folks, Mr. President, you got my number. Drop a dime. I may be interested.
Go back and have Uncle Scotty as your art teacher. Wouldn't that be something?
That would be awesome.
Right? He wouldn't yell at you for smoking cigarettes in the back, you know?
All right. I don't know. I know that you guys that listen to Quite Frankly have heard about Razor Fist.
Oh, yeah.
But I got a semi-short one. It's 8 minutes. Can Doge defeat the deep state Razor rant? Let's give that a listen. And that'll be my last YouTube one where I have to deal with possible ads on.
Raise big balls to be part of the news cycle, at least not until the Michelle Obama biopic. Yet here we are in 2025, spurging about an 18-year-old wunderkind employed at Doge to dismantle the deep state for writing a fair few tweets that were, to put it bluntly, spicier than an Indian outhouse.
Wired ran a profile on him yesterday titled, "A young technologist known online as Big Balls, who works for Elon Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency, has access to sensitive U.S. government systems."
Marco Illes, a 25-year-old who is part of a cadre of Elon Musk lieutenants deployed by the Department of Government Efficiency to scrutinize federal spending, resigned after the Wall Street Journal asked the White House about his connection to the account. The Journal unearthed some tweets the outlet says are linked to Illes. The Journal says the now deleted account, called Null PTR, wrote tweets like this. "Just for the record, I was racist before it was cool. You could not pay me to marry outside of my ethnicity. I would not mind at all if Gaza and Israel were both wiped off the face of the earth."
When it came time to take things to the next level, I knew that I had to make a website, and Wix.
Normalize Indian.
Seriously.
Normalize.
Hey, oh shit!
Oh shit! So funny.
That's thicker.
As ironic nomenclature goes, Department of Government Efficiency is right up there with military intelligence, Jews for Jesus, or the Charlie Sheen Sobriety Society.
Jews for Jesus.
When the Dawn dropped the Doge concept, I suspected it would be little more than a sequel to Space Force. Hilarious, harmless meme fuel, and a functional footnote otherwise. The DSP of the deep state, if you will. But like DSP, it proved profoundly unkillable and immediately began beating off its enemies, enacting an IRS hiring freeze, a balls-out buyout of 40,000 feds, Or would that be big balls out? And even freezing all funding for the international arm of Planned Parenthood. Hush now, Nancy Nosering. After all, it's only a clump of dollars. Federal funding begins at birth. Doge scored successive victories in one of the bloodiest 2-week periods since Pelosi hit menopause in the Mesozoic era. And then he announced his intention to audit the Pentagon. Elon, my man, your food taster better have a food taster. It's all fun and games dabbing on deep state doofuses until you start rapping about auditing the Fed or running receipts on the Pentagon, and pretty soon your pantry's going to have more poison than an 80s monster ballad playlist on Spotify. And after 2 unremitting months of the Dems disorganizedly scrambling to muster a reprisal to the two-fisted Trump-acost, it was precisely the Pentagon audit threat that preceded their first fumbling effort at rejoinder. Bribe yet another Obama judge with Mayer, Blatt, or Berg in his last name to slap a powerless, proof-free restraining order on said audit, absent discovery or even the slightest attempt to inform the damn defendant. As courtroom injustices go, this one fell somewhere between OJ's acquittal and To Shill a Mockingbird. I don't know what kind of courtroom can halt an executive order to obtain receipts from an executive department, much less conceal said litigation from the accused, all while forbidding reprisal, but I'm sure it had a ceiling fan in it. Look, if this order were any more transparent, Kanye's wife would be wearing it. It's illegal, utterly unenforceable, destined to be donkey punched by the dawn, and if you know a solitary thing about politics, then you'll also know divorce, that's the entire point. If this attempted delay were any more blatant, KY would be selling it as a cream. When an attempt was funded to audit the Arizona election in 2020, the county commissioners spent interminable months obfuscating like the Dickens, refusing to hand over voting machines, mail-in ballots. Hell, at one point, thousands of voting records went up in a mysterious farm fire. But the net result? The audit wasted money and precious political capital, convincing a gaggle of entrenched autistic establishmentarians to abide with the will of the voters. And the net result was a full forensic audit that, despite document interference on all fronts, nevertheless uncovered irregularities that obliterated Biden's victory margin more than 5-fold. Wake up and smell the bleach, bit, while a bitch in a black robe bangs his gavel, secure in the knowledge that even should he be debenched, he'll enjoy a cushy consulting gig at Goldman Sachs. The real dirt is being done on the down low. Look, I'm no adherent of Andrew Jackson, but a gut-busting, if apocryphal exchange came when he embarked on the Trail of Tears, only to be rebuffed by a higher court, to which Old Hickory is alleged to have replied, Judge Marshall has made his decision, now let him enforce it. Now, I don't recommend anything quite so extreme, but if you haven't watched my stench from the bench rant, you best plant your posterior and do so, because 7 years on, that video is aging like a damn Dracula. And while I believe there may be moral grounds to defy the judge in question, that still doesn't ultimately disabuse us of the operative malady, the need to reform the impeachment process for sitting judges and de-insulate certain judges from the electorate they're intended to represent. Even an alteration as innocuous as allowing the president to recommend a judicial impeachment before throwing it to Congress for a full vote would ameliorate most of the issue. Look, Congress are cowards. If you doubt me, consult the Jan 6 footage of them ducking under their desk to avoid unarmed grannies waving Walmart flags. Folks, the French infantry are calling our congressmen pussies, but there's nothing they're more morbidly afraid of than committing to an actual position. Outside of Epstein Island, that is. These people are so afraid of commitment, they won't even write their bills in pen. So conceive the courage required to question the integrity of a Supreme Court justice, cut that shit in half, multiply it by the number of limp-wristed rhinos in Congress, and wonder no longer why the one and only impeachment in Supreme Court history occurred when Washington was still above ground. Many may like to impeach a judge, but no one wants to bear the political consequences of it. By allowing the president to recommend a judicial impeachment, you allow him to bear the brunt of the political scrutiny without actually conferring upon him any real political power to remove judges in the process. However you do it, and whoever you do it to, don't do it halfway. Trump or no Trump, we're knocking on the door of a $2 trillion deficit, which may sound like a lot, but it's really only like half John Fetterman's hoodie and sweatpants budget, which explains seemingly drastic actions such as Trump's discontinuation of the penny for reasons of high cost. Only the Fed could find a way to spend 2 cents to produce a penny. But why get rid of it, I ask? Hell, just cut the penny in half, or better yet, drop it between 2 rabbis and let nature take its course.
Wow.
Either way, no one looks more chest-slappingly, paste-guzzlingly retarded than the leering lulberts who argued, Doge will do nothing. In 2 weeks, Elon and Trump have crossed more items off the lulbert Santa Claus wish list than Gary Johnson ever promised to. And after booing Trump at your little cringe convention, you bitches better propose marriage to that L, because you'll be holding on to it a while. Look, I get the cause for this resignation, but let's not kid ourselves. If Big Balls was black and the self-same tweets were unearthed, only directed at Walmart shopping, NASCAR watching, banjo strumming honkies, he'd be promoted to president, and don't you damn deny it. This kid wasn't fired for Fed posting. He was fired for doing so while white. I admire what Elon's attempting to do, and I concede the concept of Doge has been infinitely more effective than I dared ever anticipate. But uncovering IRS documents, pounding the Pentagon, keep this shit up, and you'll both wind up with the life expectancy of a Linkin Park singer. Though on the plus side, at least Chester Bennington died as he lived, connecting with a fan. I'm Razor Fist. Godspeed.
That was brutal. You'll love it. Oh, Chan culture. Internet culture is back, baby.
I'm going to take a brief moment to cover our sponsors real quick. All right, here we go.
America Rising Media is proud to be sponsored by Benson Honey Farms. Homegrown, patriot-owned, harvested right here in the USA. Benson Honey Farms. Use promo code ARM for 10% off at checkout. Wake up, America. It's America Rising Coffee. Roasted the same day as ordered. America Rising Media is now partnered with America Rising Coffee. Use promo code ARM for 10% off at checkout. Patriot-owned businesses and America Rising Media working together. Wake up, America. It's awake, not woke.
It's a great way to support our mods. That's how they get the support from us, is through the merch. So get out there, buy some merch, and support our mods.
And thank you, mods, for being out there for us.
Yeah, we have a great set of mods here. All right, so I want to play just a little bit of this Tucker Carlson, Ken Paxton interview. I have timestamps that about 17 minutes.
All right. That's a good one.
So let's go ahead and jump into this. Basically, he's going to cover Donald Trump versus the Mexican drug cartels, how George Soros controls our politicians, and why Soros, Obama, and establishment Washington wants to destroy the U.S. Those are the three segments that I wanted to cover. I know Johnny covered some of it last night also, but I think he was covering a different section of it. So let's go ahead and jump into this, and then we'll discuss it on the outside.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on, Mr. Attorney General.
Glad to be here.
So the most pressing problem, I think it's fair to say as an outsider in Texas, is immigration. It's totally changed your state in every way. Do you expect that the new administration and the executive orders in the first couple of days are going to have a material effect, a noticeable effect?
I know they are, just because I saw what happened 4 years ago or 8 years ago when Trump came into office. I mean, I've been in politics since Bush was in office, and I've seen how Republicans and Democrats have dealt with immigration. They have not dealt with it effectively because they have not enforced federal law. Trump was the first president to use the force of our federal laws, which are good and designed to protect us, whether it was Remain in Mexico or whether it was Title 42 or it was stopping catch and release, basic common sense things like building a wall. Those things work. They just absolutely work. And just what he's done in the first couple of days is significant in changing where Biden was taking us.
So one of the things you pointed out off camera was his executive order designating the drug cartels as terror organizations is significant.
Yes, we as states don't have much authority to stop illegal immigration, but the federal government has that authority. And by designating these cartels as terrorist organization, now our military force can be used against them rather than just using, border patrol and leaving the states subject to the cartels, crimes.
You do wonder about the power of the drug cartels. They've, a lot of the weapons we have sent to Ukraine have been sold by the Ukrainian military onto the black market. That's a fact. A lot, up to half. And a lot of them have been purchased by the drug cartels. You see in Mexico, pitched battles, military engagements between the cartels and the Mexican military, where they're very, they're well armed. Are you worried about that happening in Texas?
Absolutely. I think the Biden administration has indirectly funded the cartels. They have encouraged, by saying no deportations on day one of his administration, they've encouraged illegal immigration, and that's a profit center for the cartels. They make $8,000 to $12,000 a person. If you just do the numbers on 14 million, that's a lot of money. They're making billions every month. And then they can go and use that money to buy weapons from Ukraine, which we're funding. We're sending that over free. So indirectly, they're part of the whole process of, one, allowing the cartels to have access to our country and allowing them to make a profit, and then to use that money to arm themselves in a significant way. That's our government.
Well, it's horrifying. I mean, because, some of the weapons are surface to air weapons. So you wonder, what's the threat to commercial air travel? You could see things kind of starting to fall apart. Is there widespread acknowledgement of this in Texas, that we could have a serious problem with these cartels?
I think even just common people are aware of that, just because of the influx and the increased crime associated with just everyday crime that people see as it relates to the cartels moving into our state. And that network that they built is not just in Texas. They are building that network all over the country, and they're not going to want to give it up. They're making too much money on drugs, sex trafficking, other crimes, and the importation of people.
Every big construction site in this country has prostitution run by the cartels, often of children. I don't see anyone doing anything about it. And it makes you wonder, Mexico is completely, utterly corrupt because of cartel money. Politicians, judges, journalists, all on the payroll. You see this in other Latin American countries. I mean, our politicians are not that expensive. You could do that in a state like Texas, right? Or California.
Yeah. Well, here's one of the biggest problems we have. We have it in Texas. We have it in other parts of the country. George Soros has figured this out. He's gone in and elected DAs in Democratic counties. Austin, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio. So 70% of our population controlled by Soros DAs. He went in and knocked off Democratic DAs because we can't get elected Republicans in those areas. So he went in and knocked off DAs who were actually prosecuting, and replace them with Soros DAs. Now, our legislature could fix that. They haven't. They could come in and say, AG, you have concurrent jurisdiction to go after these crimes. But because they haven't done that, crime is proliferating in all of our cities, financial crimes, other types of crimes, because they will not prosecute crimes. And so the cartels have an open invitation. So do other cartels from other countries. So if you go out to our financial crime unit in Tyler, they will tell you about all these crime groups coming in from other countries because they know they can get away with it. And our legislature so far has not fixed that.
Why? Okay. So then the question of motive arises. Like, why wouldn't you want to stop crime in your state?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I find that DAs they have more power in Texas than any elected official I've ever seen because they're not accountable to anybody. That if they commit a crime, no one can prosecute them. If it's a state crime, they'd have to prosecute themselves. And they can allow any crimes in their area. And they can go after, in Texas, it is so easy to get an indictment. You just walk in, you can tell the grand jury anything you want to, you can lie. Once you have the indictment, you've got it. There's no getting out of it. And so I think a lot of our politicians are afraid of their DAs, even if they're liberal Democrats. But if we don't get control of this in our state and in other states and give somebody like the Attorney General, I'm not going to be there forever, give that authority so that there's another way to prosecute when the Soros DAs, and Soros figured it out, but the Republicans have not.
I mean, it's so obvious just in your, 45-second explanation. It makes sense. So how is it that they haven't figured it out, or do they have a higher loyalty?
They're afraid of the DAs. They're afraid the DAs come in and lobby, and everybody's afraid of their own DA that they'll get indicted if they do it. There's just that power because to get an indictment in Texas, you don't have to have, there's no recording of it. It's only one side of the story. You can, and if they lie and they get the indictment, there's no remedy. There's no consequence to the DA and there's no remedy for the victim of that lie. You are going to trial. You can even, if somehow you could find out what happened in that secret grand jury proceeding, which I have before, it doesn't matter. You can go to judge and say they lied. You still are indicted and you're still at risk of going to prison.
You have to tell your kids you've been indicted.
And you might be in prison. You might be in front of a jury that doesn't know the truth and you go to jail, or you're in a Democratic county, you might go to jail on something that they made up.
So you really think, I mean, I'm sorry to be so naive, but I grew up in this country and we didn't have things like this that I was aware of in 1985. But you think that members of the Texas legislature are afraid they'll be indicted if they push back against the DAs?
I think there is a fear, and there is this lobby effort. These DAs have so much power. Otherwise, why would they allow Soros to control the major cities and it's obvious that they're not prosecuting crimes. They won't even prosecute shoplifting for, like, if you have free ride, if you want to, as long as you take $750 a day in Dallas County, whatever the number is, and you go to different stores, you can do that every day. And the DA there said, we will not prosecute you.
But why would you want that unless you were trying to destroy a civilization?
Soros, it's exactly what he wants to do. So
yeah, there's no political goal here.
It's just destabilization.
Right.
And it's so easy. It is literally so easy to do that. And he also, I believe, got control of our Court of Criminal Appeals, which is our highest court. We have a bifurcated system in Texas. We have the Texas Supreme Court, that's the final appeal in civil, and the Court of Criminal Appeals. But no one knew who they were. And suddenly they strike down a law that allowed me that directed me to prosecute voter fraud. And they took it away just by saying, oh, it's unconstitutional because you're in the executive branch and separation of powers says you can't be in court. How insane is that? So I've had to go run I'm trying to take that court back, but right now I can't even prosecute voter fraud, which opens us up to unfair elections in Texas, which I was prosecuting plenty of voter fraud before that happened.
So who's supposed to prosecute voter fraud?
The Soros DAs.
So
that's where we're at in Texas. So that's why I ran. This is a 9-member court, 6-year terms. They waited till 2 days after the filing deadline to announce their decision. This is a 1951 statute that has thousands of cases of precedent. And they came up with this insane idea that it was unconstitutional for the Attorney General to be in court because I'm in the executive branch. If that's true, every AG in the country is violating the Constitution. So that was the rationale. I had to wait 2 years. I recruited 3 people to take out the 3 people that were up. So we've replaced 3. We've got 1 good one on there, but we're still down 5 poor. So until we fix those things in Texas, we're at risk.
Oh, big time. So do you think that these Soros DAs have hesitated to go after the drug cartels?
They don't. They don't go after crime in general. They don't work. They do political crimes, but they generally are not there. They don't do their jobs. They don't prosecute.
Even when people get killed.
Hit and miss. But they're not, the message from Soros is let as much crime go as possible.
It's amazing that a non-U.S. citizen who hates the United States, hates the West, could have that much power in our country.
It's just his money. It doesn't take very much. It doesn't, to elect a DA in a Travis County, which is Austin, you're in a Democratic primary. It doesn't take that many votes. I was working with a DA there who was a Democrat. I didn't agree with her on everything, but she was doing her job. He spends a little bit of money, takes her out, and suddenly now I've got a DA who won't prosecute anything. Same in Bexar County, which is San Antonio. I worked with a DA a lot in Bexar County, a guy named Nicola Hood. His brother is now converted to Republican. He's a state rep. He was awesome to work with. And
he was a Democrat.
He was a Democrat. He did his job. Guess what? Soros replaced him with money. So that's what it doesn't take him that much money, and he controls our whole situation with crime and controls our judicial system, at least on the criminal side. And we're sitting here letting it happen in Texas and other states.
What did you think when Joe Biden gave George Soros the Presidential Medal of Freedom?
Disgusting. I mean, the guy's done more as far as I know, there are not many people in the world that have done more harm to our country. And he's being applauded by Joe Biden. It's not surprising because Joe Biden has the same motivations.
Yeah.
I mean, what did Joe Biden do that was good? Can you name it? I can't.
No, they worked from day one to destroy what past generations had built, this amazing country.
And it had to be on purpose. And the reason I say that is because you would think that randomly he would have done something good if it weren't purposeful. He would have had something economically, internationally, the border, something would have been right? Just randomly. There's no
the law of averages suggests a victory once in a while.
The bell curve tells you he would have had something good. He didn't have anything good. It was all on the other end of the curve, the downside of the curve, which was harm to Americans. That cannot be accidental.
And to individual Americans, I think that's absolutely right. But I'm so fixated on this. Why would you want to do that?
I truly believe that this started, I think, with President Obama, first president, I believe, that didn't love America, that really thought we were a bad country, that thought we were racist and that we deserved to be taken down to another level. And I think they operate under this idea that we're a bad country, that we're bad people, and that we don't deserve this. And they fundamentally don't believe in what was created here. I truly believe that.
And they want to destroy it, take it down, dismantle it.
Because they think it's bad. Yeah. They think we're bad.
I don't see another explanation. There's hate behind it. There's no doubt about it. I mean, how could you wind up with the outcome, with people dying of drug ODs on the street and stores closing because of stealing and kids cutting their own genitals off? Like, you would have to hate someone.
Do you remember the contempt that Obama said? They cling to their religion and their guns and their God. There's contempt for that, what the founders put in place, a bunch of white racists who had slaves. And so that permeates his view of America. And yet there's no excuse for slavery. We messed up in that. We fixed it. We were moving in the right direction, but his view is we're broken because of that. And therefore we deserve to be dismantled because we don't.
It's not about that. I mean, there are countries where slavery is still practiced, in certain countries, but there were like critical U.S. allies that had slavery until the 1970s, and no one ever mentions that or holds them responsible. Obama has no problem taking money for speeches in those countries.
That's why it doesn't make sense. Slavery's been around in the world forever, and
it's not awful.
It is awful.
And the U.S. and Great Britain were the reason that we don't have it anymore, and globally, for the most part, and no civilized country would tolerate slavery. But if you're against slavery, by the way, why would you be for the drug cartels, which practice slavery, which sell people?
All I know is it seems like the things they focus on do the greatest harm to America.
I totally agree, but it doesn't. I think it's a mistake to take their explanations at face value. I think there's something deeper, like it's just hate. They want to hurt people.
They do not have an abiding love. Look, I didn't like Jimmy Carter as president. I think he did a good job, but he didn't have a hatred for this country.
I don't think so.
I don't think he did. I think we've had a lot of mediocre to bad presidents who still didn't want the country to be dismantled. But I think it started with Obama. Biden didn't know what he was doing. He was being told by others he wasn't competent. And this was the third presidency of President Obama. And he didn't have to worry about being popular anymore because he limited himself a little bit because he wanted to get reelected. He didn't care if Joe Biden got reelected.
You think it's over for Obama? His influence is permanently diminished?
I think it's been impacted and affected. It could be if we continue the momentum and we don't mess this up. If we get caught up in not focusing on the best things for America, he can come right back in. If we don't take care of the American people and make that our number one focus, what's best for the American people, if we stay on that track, we have a really good chance of being successful for a long time. If we lose sight of that and we start worrying about our power and
I agree.
Once we start taking care of ourselves, then they have a chance back in because the American people will see that.
I think that's really wise. I'm concerned about that, not because of any individual acting in bad faith, but because human nature,
the depravity
is
of man.
What it is. It's exactly right.
The Presbyterians actually had that right when they set this government up. It was based on the depravity of men. It was the reason they wanted 3 branches of government that made it so frustrating to get things done. It's because they didn't trust people in power. Because every human,
I wouldn't trust myself in power at all. I don't want power because I don't trust myself. I don't think an honest person can really say my motives are pure. Right?
No, I agree with that. We all have this pull towards.
Yeah, and anyone who doesn't admit that's a liar.
Right.
So yeah, I want oversight of me.
Right.
And then you see Chuck Schumer and you're like, that guy needs a lot of oversight, like armed oversight. You know what I mean? Like all of it.
Yeah, I think you got it right in your speech at the Bible Museum during the inauguration about humility and realizing your need for God's work in your life. And without that, you have we all have a tendency to go down the wrong path.
100%. And you lie to yourself. Oh, I'm doing this for the greater good. I have known people personally who've killed other human beings because they thought, or they convinced themselves, this is actually for the, the humanity will benefit from this.
Oh yeah. Okay. That's what we all convince ourselves. Whatever we're doing, that we're doing this, and it really, and we tell ourselves, well, this is really good because, but so we are off base many times.
It's so true. So the whole point of market capitalism is consumer choice. You have a choice between, you're probably paying.
Well, that's where we'll end that one.
Nice. I could think of a couple of things that Chuck Schumer needs. None of them have to do with oversight.
Yeah.
Fucking millstone, maybe? Or
I've been hearing more and more that Texas is going from red to purple. And I think it has a lot to do with what's going on. And everybody moving there, too.
Soros in there. They do it. A lot of states that were red that are turned blue is because of the same stuff. It might not have been Soros at the time, but it was somebody like him. Like Oregon was red as hell back in the day.
Yeah. And
it's slowly just, they get in there and they get a couple people in and they don't make any big noise and they're the ones that put in power. And they hire that one person here and one here and one here and one here. And they're literally puppet masters.
Yep.
And eventually you just get infested. And unfortunately, Texas is in the limelight.
I'm pretty sure you guys are in the same boat as Washington, but as soon as they went mail-in voting, there hasn't been a Republican since.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised there's even any state reps that are Republican. Like, I think they just allow it to happen.
They're not real. They're rhinos.
Yeah. Yeah. This may not be popular for other Oregonians to hear, but Christine Drazan, our last Republican nominee for governor, my pastor knows her, actually, and his family knows her. He doesn't like when I talk about her because I think that she was set up to take the L. And she walked away from the last election like nothing happened. Like, oh, okay, I'll just gracefully leave. Like, you lost by like nothing. What? Like, throw a flag up.
Yeah.
Say something. And they're there. They're there for a reason.
Yep.
It happens a lot, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
We need some
kind of federal intervention. I know it's got to be somewhat limited, but
yeah, but when it has to do with national security, it's like when corruption at the state level reaches to where it is in a lot of these states, it puts the nation at risk. Like Tina Kotex will let China come into Portland. I guarantee she would, without blinking an eye. And now that Washington and Oregon are like best buddies, they just go right through Columbia, right into Portland, and just set up shop. Now, they're probably doing it already.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it's a national security thing. That's when the feds can come in. That's when the military comes in. And we've been told military is the only way. So maybe that has to do with it. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Maybe.
We'll see. And something has to happen. Because we're doing it at the state level, but if our voting's been usurped. They've taken that from us. They've taken our opinion, our voice, our vote away. In so many states. So many states.
Yep. Well, here's something that might give you some hope coming out of Washington State. Shout out Katie Davis Court for this one. This is one of my favorite sheriffs in Washington State.
Oh, yeah. I heard this. This is great.
I have a posse. Some people might think it's a militia. Some people might, because militia, people get scared over that word. Really, that's what the Second Amendment's all about, isn't it? It's a militia. We, the people, have a right to bear arms and to protect our home, protect our county, and protect our citizens, and protect us from what? Government overreach. That's why you need to have firearms. I have a posse after I got elected sheriff. I created this posse. We're up to 150 members right now. We're going higher. We're going to go 250. That posse is sworn in. Background check is conducted on them. They're sworn into office by me. They wear a black Western shirt, patch, just like this, with a rocker over it that says posse. Blue jeans and the uniform shirt. On their vehicles, their private vehicles, is a magnetic placard that says Klickitat County Sheriff's Posse Patrol with a star. You all know what Neighborhood Crime Watch is all about.
Get on it, Scott.
I'm just going to stop that for just a second and let everybody know that Klickitat has some fantastic hunting.
Shut up.
I mean, that's not where I got my deer this year, but
shut up.
I spent, when I lived over on the west side, I went to Klickitat a lot to hunt. All right. Enough of that little sidebar.
Right? That's a county-wide neighborhood crime watch. I refer to it as my community policing efforts because it's good citizens working with their sheriff's office to provide a safer community. You don't get any more American than that.
Subscription, Jessica.
In addition, I am so proud of the citizens in our county, except for the bad guys. But I am so proud of the average citizen in our county. Volunteerism is outstanding. Of that 150, I have 6 pilots that fly for us at no cost to the citizens. None. Not for fuel, not for anything. They fly for us to look for bad guys, fire spotting in the fire season. They're up there looking for smoke and outdoor marijuana grows, even though it's legal in the state of Washington. But some of those folks failed to do the proper thing, and they think they can just grow it. We just took down 3 houses, all Orientals, 8,000 plants, the houses they bought to grow marijuana in. $314,000 in cash and a money counter. So I think those folks got some problems. And they just bailed out, cash bail on all of them. We probably won't see them appear in court, I'm sure. But anyway, the reason I mentioned the posse, when I had these, and by the way, the posse does not have arrest authority. They're trained every month in a meeting, now by Zoom, but every month in a meeting, we go over the Constitution, we go over 4th Amendment, 5th Amendment, 2nd Amendment, the Constitution, and we go into details on that. I think that's very important that those people have that. Because I am a big 2nd Amendment individual, they're allowed to carry firearms in uniform after they've qualified with an NRA instructor for liability reasons. I think it was Sheriff Jenkins mentioned liability, but he's absolutely spot on. Hell, if we worry about liability, we wouldn't crawl in that patrol car. There'd be no sense in it. We can't run from liability. It's always going to be there. We just got to face it and do the best we can to minimize liability. But having created this posse, I told these posse members at the protest deal, I said, make sure they're not harassed, that they're able to do their peaceful demonstration. But if they get out of line, you have arrest authority under my badge. And they will make their arrest. And whatever the fallout is, it's going to fall out. But because of that, I immediately had the resources to do the job. We're a county of 19 sworn deputies. That includes me. We have 10 reserve deputies gone through the academy, and they have arrest authority when they're working. That's the total arrest authority we have in that county. So my posse could very well be assistance in making arrests if we have a problem created. If Antifa, Black Lives Matter, which is terrorist organizations, show up in our county and they think they're going to throw rocks and burn buildings, I've got fire trucks lined up with high pressure water hoses, and I'll knock them right off their feet.
Damn right.
Boom.
The way it should be.
In fact, I had a couple of them.
He's giggling about it.
They were upset because nothing happened. They wanted to see some action, but it didn't. They were peaceful. But Antifa and Black Lives Matter, with all the rioting in Portland, is 2 hours from us. Seattle, with all the nonsense going up there, the rioting and the liberal jelly spine, the politicians that support that activity, they're 3 hours from us. Is it a possibility they could end up in our county? Absolutely. We've had 4 Black Lives Matter protests already. Fortunately, they turned out to be peaceful, but that don't mean the next time they will. So I am prepared. You can call it a posse. You can call it a militia. And by the way, I've had numerous citizens call me, said, Sheriff, I got your 6 o'clock. If you need help, I'll be there. There is no doubt in my mind, that if I put a call out, I could have anywhere 600, 700 people, and I'd raise their hands, swear them in, and let's go to keep our county safe. Anyway, I see I'm running out of time here. Apologize for that. But I proudly consider myself constitutional sheriff. And I encourage those of you who are not constitutional sheriffs, please become one. We all need to be together on this, whether it's in Washington, Nevada, Maine, wherever it is. We all need to be constitutional sheriffs. And our citizens come first. Bad guys are one of our jobs we throw in jail, but our primary job is to protect the citizens' liberty and God-given constitutional rights in our county, the people that elected us. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Boom. Amen. Amen.
It's refreshing to see that out of Washington.
Yeah.
There is still some good guys left.
Yep, the old timers are usually pretty good still.
And on that note, we're going to jump down into your state.
Oh, shit.
The sheriff of...
roll your windows up, lock your doors.
Unfortunately, it doesn't appear to be a video, so I'll just read it off here. The sheriff in Josephine County in Oregon made it clear that ICE is not allowed in their jails. We have no communication with ICE. We don't work with them. They're not allowed in our jails or on our property. Sheriff Dave Daniel is actively making communities unsafe. As shown here, I have comprised a list of illegal aliens who were released from jail in Washington and Oregon after sanctuary jurisdictions refused to honor ICE and ERO Seattle detainers. This one here, criminal history, charged child molestation number 1 out of Guatemala. Child sex abuse, illicit drug deliveries, assault, etc. They were placed into our communities to reoffend. Juan Osaro of Guatemala was released from King County Jail in Seattle. He was charged with child molestation. This one here, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, was released from Washington Regional Justice Center in Kent. He was charged with communicating with a minor for immoral purposes. Juan Martinez Sandoval of Mexico was released from the Clackamas County Jail. He was charged with unlawful delivery of illicit drugs. Carla something of Mexico was released from Clackamas County Jail. She was charged with domestic abuse and disorderly conduct. Juan Aguilera of Mexico was released from Washington Score Correctional Facility. He was charged with domestic violence and assault. This one out of Clackamas, he was charged with stalking, menacing, criminal mischief, and property damage. And we can just keep on going down this list.
Yeah. Clackamas County's are across the river here from me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you see Washington County, there's a few. I went down this list too. Washington County, right there. That guy's in my
Here's
neighborhood.
one from my area out of Franklin County.
Like, boom, yeah, you and then me, both of us. Both of those right there.
There's Washington County right there.
And our neighborhoods.
Reckless endangerment and DUI. And the list just keeps on going.
And this is just what they started compiling. This is not even the whole list.
Mm-hmm.
And these are people that are getting assistance. They're being protected. They're being let off the freaking hook every time they get put in jail. Sometimes they get arrested and they're not even booked.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, oh no, you again. Just get on out of here. Can't have you in the book in the system again. And they wonder why we all have guns and shit.
Yeah, why we want guns anyway. But unfortunately, I lost all mine in an accident.
Yeah, well, you know what? I got a whole lot of them. And if you want them, you're going to have to come take them. I'll give them to you lead first.
All right. So we got this one. I want to make sure we get this one. We played a little bit of her last week, and she was very fruitful in her language. There's still a language warning on this one, but it's not as bad. All right. This is people waking up.
Okay, I'm going to try not to curse in this one. So I'm sitting here watching the Joe Rogan interview with Mike Benz, and I'm literally shaking. I'm so pissed off. I'm so angry. And I'm left with so many more questions than I had to begin with. How long has this been going on for?
Welcome to the party.
Has it been going on since before my parents were
It is
born?
nice to see that, though.
Yeah.
This is treason.
Yeah.
The things that USAID has been doing is treason. How can you describe the things that USAID has been doing as anything less than treason? The questions that I have now are, how much of it was real? How much of what we've been told by the mainstream news, who were being funded by USAID, how much of that was real? Did 9/11 get funded by USAID? I know that sounds conspiratorial.
Now, I'm going to throw this out here. USAID, I have seen wake up 10 times more than anything I've seen so far.
Oh, by far.
And it's amazing.
I've got people at work that are like, don't want to hear anything from me ever. They're not left or right. They're just, lost in the matrix people. And they're going, hey, so did you hear about this Elon Musk thing? I'm like, no, what did you hear? Tell me. What do you think about that? Don't ask me. What do you think about it?
I want to hear what you think. Yep.
I think, oh my gosh, all this money that they're discovering. This is just crazy. I'm like, yeah, you haven't seen any. This is the warm up.
Yeah. This is
like
the iceberg.
Yeah, they're playing this while you get yourself situated. Go to the, what's the song? Let's all go to the kitchen and get your popcorn, get your soda, whatever, or your sugar-free lemonade, whatever it is, and the show's just starting.
It's awesome.
And weird, but with everything that they're showing, it's really not.
What's up, Crack the Whip?
Did they fund the terrorists that took over the planes?
Yes.
The more that I learn, the more angry that I get.
Good.
And I hate being fucking emotional on here. I'm sorry, I don't mean to swear.
Live it.
I wasn't born and raised in the United States
Let
of
it flow, girl.
You were.
The idea of what I thought the United States of America was it's not real.
You're right.
It's not real. These people have
you guys remember being like this?
Our country.
Yeah.
And our goodwill. They have extorted the American people in the name of humanitarian aid.
Yes.
And essentially funded both sides of every conflict. This is overwhelming. I can't even like grasp
Pray.
my thoughts. My mind is racing. It makes me think about all of the times that I have read and heard people say that the United States of America stopped being a country at a certain point and became a corporation.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
Is my birth certificate and my social security card?
Yes.
That just documentation and I'm just chattel for the fucking federal government? Like,
yes.
This is insane. This is insane.
Yes, it is.
And these politicians
you won't sleep.
that are sitting here screaming about how Donald Trump is causing a constitutional crisis. What are you talking about? You people have literally gotten rich off of USAID.
Yes.
And just for anybody wondering, it's not about the money. It's
Correct.
not about the money. It's about the corruption.
Exactly.
It's about the cost, the human lives that have been lost because of the money, the blood money that has been spent. They've been funding the Taliban. They've been funding Al-Qaeda. How is that not the tip of the spear of the military-industrial complex? Because you can't perpetually be in war if there's no enemies to fight. How many American lives have been lost in wars? I mean,
literally watching her brain fracture.
The thing about it is I've known for a long time. I've known for a long time that we've had deep-seated corruption in our government. But I guess hearing it and seeing it firsthand and having it confirmed is like, it's just a tidal wave of emotion and confusion and anxiety. And like I said, like, how deep does it go? I remember when I heard about Agenda 21, I was probably in my late 20s. And I thought, that's stupid. Like, it's just a conspiracy theory. You know, I was one of those people who trusted the government and trusted that they are genuinely representing us. And they're not they're corrupt. Yes, some of them are corrupt, but, like, they're not that bad. This is the United States of America. We are a free country. We have freedom of speech. We have the Second Amendment. Like, we're a free nation. Woohoo, America.
Someone go give Jenny B. Foxy 2 a hug.
Wow, Agenda 21
100% cracked the whip.
That far-fetched. And I've been called crazy for so long. It's like when somebody calls you crazy and gaslights you for your entire life, basically, and then you find out that you weren't crazy.
It's just true,
I want justice. I want every single person who had a hand in this corruption to be in prison. Every single one. I don't care if they're 100 fucking years old. I don't care. They need to be in prison for the rest of their lives. These people are fucking evil. They are evil. And this is treason.
Yes.
Donald Trump, please, God, please protect Donald Trump.
Where's
Elon Musk. I pray every single day for those men, for everybody. Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth. I pray for Pam Bondi, and I pray for everybody in the Trump administration. Oh, and JD Vance. I don't want to forget JD Vance.
That's right. Don't forget JD.
We need this wrecking ball to absolutely destroy this corrupt machine that has been perverting our country. And I want every single person involved in handcuffs and behind a jail cell door. That's the That's what they deserve. You motherfuckers arrested the January 6th
I love it.
protesters.
The emotional roller coaster show's on now.
The Capitol building that they paid for, and you held them for years in prison on misdemeanor charges, while you motherfuckers were literally pissing away our money, funding wars, funding corruption overseas, funding media.
It's a recap from the last 8 years.
In other countries, so that their people would lose trust in their own governments and their governments would be destabilized. Are you insane? Are you insane? This better be remedied. I'm going to tell you right now, this better be remedied. These people better be held accountable. Because I'm so sick and tired of hearing the shit that has happened and not seeing anybody be prosecuted for it. I want prosecutions.
Yes.
I want to see these people do the walk of shame and be put behind bars. At the very least.
Yes. Let the dark side consume you, young Padawan. Just love it. Love it. Seriously, that's like 8 years of all of us, right?
Yeah.
Just like
you went all the way back to 9/11, so
yeah, I mean, that was my wake up call when I was in high school,
and
being called crazy ever since. Like, and sometimes you think, man, am I fucking crazy? Did I not see something that everybody else didn't see? Like, especially as a young person, going through that and having adults like tell me, and like people in the military and smart, intelligent people like, no, you're overthinking things. You're imagining all this stuff. This didn't happen. And I'm like, no, but the thing, like, no,
it did happen.
Like this shit doesn't happen like that in this country. And then I started doubting, like, oh, maybe it does. Maybe we're not as good of a country as we thought. No, shit, orchestrated. It's all orchestrated.
Yep.
And just what? We're 25 years, 24 years later. And it's just like, yeah, they've all started. All the major decline, their plan was put into action that day. And we're here today because of that day. And it's great to watch people wake up like that.
It is.
I feel bad for her because she's getting like, we all got like this, not all, can't say everybody.
A little slow drip.
But the drip, we got the easy, and it was hard that way. Could you imagine just thinking everything was just copacetic until now?
Well, everybody's favorite Anon warned us that this time was coming.
Yeah.
We needed to be here for those people that are waking up.
Yeah. And Crack the Whip, you're totally right about it. We need to be there for them. If they're your friends, you could give them a kick in the ass and I told you so, but then give them a hug too, I guess. We better do that.
Yeah.
Drop a Pepe, hugging a Pepe over here. Just be good to your people. Be godly about it. The ones that you can, poke a little bit, do it. You deserve it. But for your neighbors and the fragile ones out there that are just literally like, just thought they were right and we were just crazy. Give them a hug. Give them some time. Let them spew. Let them have it. They like, that's what God would want you to do.
Let them talk.
Yeah. They'll convince themselves. They just need to ramble.
Yep. All right, I got one more meltdown.
Okay. Oh yeah, more meltdowns.
All right. Make sure volume's up. All right, here we go.
I am 110% convinced at this point that the entirety of our national debt, all 36 trillion with the T, are fraud, abuse, and waste. 2.7 trillion with a T was improperly sent to overseas recipients who shouldn't have had it for Medicare and Medicaid payments. How does that happen? Like, is there any part of our government, any branch of our government that has not been defrauding the American people? Because we're just barely getting started with this audit, and I'm already saying the answer is no. There is no portion or part of our government that has not been robbing the American people this entire time. Allah, we can barely afford to live, living paycheck to paycheck. People are still freezing in Western North Carolina in tents. I want arrests. Name names who did this. Start naming them. I am 110% convinced at this point that the entirety of our...
It's happening.
Love it. Mic drop for that one.
I did want to make sure I hit this one before we end the show.
Oh, damn, it's almost 1 o'clock. Holy
Play this one, and then we'll do our final thoughts.
This was fire.
Under the guise of foreign aid, USAID has been an unapologetic front for a far-left agenda. It has become self-evident there weren't a handful of foolish policies, but rather a coordinated strategy of radical, idiotic, and often anti-American priorities. Idiotic, you say? Millions to teach Moroccans how to make pottery? The Moroccans were making pottery before we were a country. This entire debate today and the crocodile tears from Democrats just goes to show what's wrong with this town. Not a single Democrat I've heard has expressed dismay at the many examples of crazy, wasteful spending. I don't understand the objection to a deep dive in how we spend our money, but perhaps it's the fact that over the last several weeks, a massive surge has occurred in the search for a criminal defense attorney. That probably says it all. 5 times in this city, any other city in the nation. I'd like to remind the committee that President Kennedy unilaterally created USAID through an executive order in 1961. Yet President Trump, orders a momentary pause after winning a mandate for reform, and Democrats cry, constitutional crisis. As other people's money, no one bats an eye. But the second you want to save taxpayer dollars, the swamp cries wolf, or in this case, unprecedented constitutional crisis. This breathless, fake outrage from the left is utterly insane. And you know what the American people, you know they can see right through it. The generosity of Americans and the blessing of giving aid to others has always been one of our most valuable tools for diplomacy. The American people have a proud history of championing aid to our fellow man, but lawless bureaucrats have poisoned that goodwill. Many USAID programs are wasteful and actively sabotage our diplomatic relationships by forcing woke ideology on our partners. Just look at PEPFAR, a beacon of hope in the fight against HIV/AIDS, yet the Biden administration even weaponized this crucial program, jeopardizing lives and undermining our relationship with African nations. Under Administrator Powers, our message to Africa was explicit, as it was heinous. Abort your babies and violate your religious convictions, or we won't grant you life-saving aid. Let me be crystal clear to those who've been complicit in this betrayal. Firing those involved is just a start. We have a long way to go. And one last point. I want to correct the record on a couple of things. First, Elon Musk and the team that is working does not have access to personal data. They don't have access to your social security number. That is a lie. Elon Musk does have a security.
On that note, how many data breaches do we have a year? Everybody already has everybody's social security number. I may not have yours.
You might as well just post it in the chat with your address and your home phone number. I mean,
yeah. And it's, if you really want to get technical, Elon was one of the co-founders of PayPal.
Exactly.
He's already got all your information.
Yeah.
If you really want to get into it,
you got a blue check mark on X.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You have your driver's license for that one.
Yep.
So it's all fake and gay. All of it. It's so stupid. Like, don't. If you're really worried about it, turn off your phone or break your phone. Turn off your computer, break that. Turn off your TV and break that. Crawl in a Faraday cage and die.
Yep.
Because you got a bank account, they're sharing your information with every other bank there is.
and
you got
country.
You got an Amazon account. There you go. You got you have any subscription to anything. Your information is available online. Your employer has all of your information. They store it in a digital database.
Yep. All right, we'll finish this out.
Clearance. He has a top secret security clearance. By God, he makes the rockets for NASA. But the suggestion that he somehow can't be trusted to dig into how we're spending our money is nothing but a smokescreen to hide the corruption and the wasteful spending that has occurred there. And I am personally offended at the left's continued references to 19-year-olds and 21-year-olds in there doing work. There are 19-year-olds who have won the Medal of Honor defending this country. Just because you're 19 doesn't mean you're some child who can't be trusted. It is offensive. And if you're 19 years old out there, 20 years old, and you're serving this country, by God, your service matters. Keep serving. We thank you for that.
Boom.
Well.
Oh, so good. So good. I'm going to throw some out there real quick, kind of off topic.
Go for it.
Because I'm one of these people that have like 1,000 stickers inside my foxhole. As you guys can tell, I love my Pepes. I'm going to put a post out here this afternoon, and it's going to be directed towards the Mats, and it's going to be all nice and polite because we love the Mats. But it's going to be to get sticker folders in here so we can organize our stickers so we can access better ones faster. If you wouldn't mind, when you see this come up, you're going to have to follow me. So here's my plug. Follow me. I'm Pilled. I'm talking to you right there, you and the one next to you. Follow me. And when this comes up, like it, share it, tag the Mats in it and your reply. Repost, quote post it. Put their names in it. So it's like over and over and over and over again. I have literally asked them personally about this. And we got shorts before we got this. Okay. Shorts, that's a big thing.
Yeah, it is.
That's a whole other like video streaming thing.
Yep.
The files and the stickers, I'm sure Matt could do this in like 20 minutes, right?
I'm sure.
20, maybe 15, give him a cup of coffee. Anyways, if you guys could, when you see this, spread it around, would you? Please. Thank you.
That sounds fantastic. That's a great idea.
I've been floating it for like 2 years. Please.
Hey, would you be willing to end us in a prayer?
Sure, I can do that. Yeah, it's that time, isn't it? All right. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the day. We thank you for this time we got together and fellowship and have some laughs and learn a little bit about what's going on in our nation. Lord, we ask that you put your healing hand on our country and the world, that we can all come together and finally defeat this evil that's plaguing. We know that it'll always pop back up. That we pray that you keep us vigilant so we can tamper it down whenever it does pop back up. Lord, we thank you for everything you've given us, the pleasure and the privilege to be an American, and that we will do our best to uphold that on our end. We ask that you make us a beacon of light so that we can bring people closer to you. In your name we pray, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. All right. Got any future plans coming up, Born?
No, I had a hike thing I had to cancel yesterday because of the snow we got here, which kind of lame. Oh, next weekend I go to a retreat, and then Liberty's birthday is coming up soon on the 26th, and we're gonna have a little thing for her. But no, just trolling the bad guys on Twitter.
There you go.
Be the troll you're meant to be.
Today, but not too bad. I had 3 things left. Not too bad. We can always cover those next week.
Yeah.
Just want to say thank you to everybody for all the red pill love and the gold pill love. But most importantly, I just want to say thank you for hanging out with us today. And everybody have a blessed Sunday, and we will see you next week.
Later, fam.
That's working out well.
And he will soon be replaced by our next FBI director, somebody who I think is going to be one of the greatest, maybe the greatest director of them all, Kash Patel.
welcome to the show, man.
Thanks so much for having me here. You've got all our data and we've got your data. You really can't compete. What he says is we want to become the Saudi Arabia of data.
AI's already infiltrating our lives. Type something into Google and you'll get an AI overview with information from many different sites. And on Facebook, there's Meta AI. Type in a question and you'll get the answer.
Tiny Lukeville, Arizona, where the number of migrants is pushing Border Patrol past capacity. More than 9,000 illegal crossings along the southern border just yesterday. Nearly 3,000 of them in this area. Now we have met.
That was our first time so calm there and now it's fine.
And then I feel here to just be gone. Everyone has lost everything here.
One more thing before I forget. Don't forget to check out Mary and Chris's new show, The Hidden Script, at 6 p.m. on America Rising Media, and Patriot Theater on Sean's channel at 9 p.m. Eastern.
And Drooby Dooby Doo is doing weather too.
Yes. Those I don't have. He doesn't have a set time or not, but follow him on Pilled, and turn on your notifications, and he'll be throwing in Weather Channel shows quite often now.
And he's taking requests too, I think, for your local area if you want. So
perfect. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys, and we will catch you on the flip side.